How is everyone doing today? Welcome to my channel. This channel is for educational purposes. This is a segment that is called Your Blind Side, and this is another message to the Patriots, um, giving them a heads up or backs up um, about uh, some things that are lying in their blind spots, things that they've got to look out for that they haven't been prepared for, and uh, there's a lot of things actually in several different areas of um, the digging that I've done that the Patriots have not mentioned, hardly ever talk about. Some of this has to do with diet and nutrition. Some of it has to do with religion and you know uh, history in general. History going back further than the Patriots have gone so far, uh, and then a lot of it has to do with uh, uh, some of this trafficking. Uh, I, I think the Patriots tend to give a pass to certain people, and some of them don't deserve it. But we'll get into some of that later. Today will probably also be about religion. But the first thing, you know, my family, a lot of people in my family really don't like me. And one of the reasons is because I call out black people for their BS. And, um, I think that one thing, uh, first of all, there's just a ton of sellout black people who are now mayors or governors, especially mayors of uh, these big cities. And um, black people have allowed themselves to get talked into this idea about police brutality and that, these white police officers are this huge threat, and that there is just one, uh, you know, we're just one, uh, uh, that they're constantly um, killing black people for no reason, and then every time there is an event where white police officer kills a black person, it's all over the media, and they milk it to the greatest extreme. And at the same time, black people then are completely mum about all the black on black crime that occurs that is 1,000 times more prevalent than the than this stuff. Obviously, I'm not saying it doesn't occur. I'm just saying that it's what some people in this movement are calling amplified messaging. That when it does happen, it's like you can't stop talking about it, and but it doesn't really happen that often. But it makes it seem like it's out there and this is a huge threat. I'm definitely not making light of it, and it's a problem, but it doesn't happen nearly as often as your average black person or our social justice warrior would think that it does. And I think the same is also true about just persecution in general. I feel like the level of racism that's out there right now is literally microscopic compared to what it was like when my parents were growing up and stuff. You know, Even when I was growing up, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't bad, too bad then. But now it's like, yeah, well, it still exists, but it also exists, if you have red hair. And it also exists if you're bald or if you're short or if you're fat. Everybody gets made fun of a little bit, you know, and there's there's but if you just get outraged and triggered over every little microaggression, that's just not really a productive way to go about things. And I think most of the patriots would agree with me about those two assessments, between the police brutality and between the just feeling like I feel like black people, a lot of times we participate in this Olympics of, which is the most persecuted group, you know, and, we are vying for the gold medal between the Jews, the Native Americans don't really even play, but they get this honorary medal because their subjugation is so obvious, and there's not that many of them around to complain about it anymore. But you know, but black people still play along with the Olympics, the persecution Olympics, and I think most patriots would agree with me about these things. But I don't think that the Patriots are recognizing that they play these same games with their religion. And, that it's almost endemic to Christians that they feel like they're persecuted for their religious beliefs. And, you know, every time that there is some type of um, Christian negativity, uh, they point it out to you and they put it up on the, they amplify the message, um, and it's dangerous because it makes it seem, when you do that, it makes it seem like it's a kind of us versus them, and it's also kind of a good versus evil, and that the others, and then, you call the other side Satanists, and, you know, let's face it, you guys have a long history of burning Satanists, and of killing Satanists. So, suspected Satanists, I will say. Um, so it's not too far uh, uh, a stretch to really say that uh, are you the persecutor or the persecuted? And um, it's just kind of absurd to me for Christians to tell me that they're in some type of persecuted group and that there's this long history of it. There isn't any history of it. Um, and to whatever extent there has been a history, it's like Christians have volunteered to be persecuted, volunteered to be uh, martyred because they want to imitate their martyr God, their martyr Son of God. Um, so, but the Romans weren't really doing that. I think that there's maybe a couple emperors that might have done a little bit of Christian persecution. There were a couple emperors that killed a few Christians, but usually not because they were Christians, for other reasons. Um, But the whole thing is just totally blown out of proportion. And, uh, kind of at the same time that, uh, there are other situations that you should be looking at much more carefully, like, um, you know, whether the real Satanists are, stealing your children and abducting them and, um, mutilating them or putting them into sex slavery. I think finally we're starting to recognize that that's going on. So I'm just trying to kind of point out that this is not really a productive, um, kind of like trying to participate in the same type of rhetoric that the other side participates in that you find so objectionable, but you do it the same, and that's really also really just getting at the crux of this Christianity thing. It's not real. It never happened. It was a myth. The Romans created the entire idea. And if you are a real truther, you would do the digging and figure this out. I shouldn't be the only person in the entire movement who's talking about this because it's obvious. But nobody wants to do the digging, because there's a lot of other stuff to dig on. And this is an uncomfortable subject. And so, are you really a truther, or are you just a fair weather truther? You just want to dig on the truth when it benefits you, or do you want to dig on the truth when it's the truth? So, that is a more relevant question that's not getting answered. And I feel like anybody who watches my video needs to spread this word to the people who do the digging, the people who do have popular channels, and confront these people about these questions. There's a lot of real Christian channels out there that are constantly telling you about God, and as soon as you hear the word Bible, I said this in my last video, but as soon as you hear the word Bible, as soon as you hear the word Jesus Christ, everybody goes into a trance. And all of a sudden, truth is out the window. Truth's out the window, and it's all faith, and it's all politeness. Oh, well, we got to be deferential here because, um, our friends believe in this, or our family members believe in this, even if I don't believe in it too strongly. And then if I believe in it, I haven't done the digging. Or if I have done the digging, I've done it with this in this trance where I just accept everything that benefits me, and I don't even look at the stuff that doesn't benefit me. And a person probably could say that about me, but it's just like, do you really think that I want to be standing up here and or sitting down here and talking about this? It would be much more easy for me to be a Christian, in this movement anyway. And but the problem is that it isn't true. And so you have to at least check it out, because it's um, going to be, it is, and is going to be obvious that this is the Achilles heel of this movement. We're going to defeat the globalists, but are we going to be able to move into the future, the golden age, so called, um, on the basis of Christianity? And the answer is no, because it isn't true. Now, I recommend that we move forward on the basis of deism. The founders of this country, many of them were deists. Deism is the belief in one God who is good and who has given us reason and other higher intellectual and spiritual faculties in order to behold the creation, nature, the laws of physics, math, uh, geometry, and the beauty of nature. And we can understand God directly through that. Or we can continue using these intermediaries, these priests and pastors and rabbis, and these books that have been edited and altered and interpolated over and over and over and over again for 5,000 years or 2,000 years. And we could do that. And then just, anybody who doesn't agree with us, we can call them Satan, even though that doesn't exist either, because it was also created by the Romans as a psychological operation. You guys know what a psychological operation looks like, and it looks like the New Testament. Okay, we will talk about this more and more and more and more until somebody listens. And thanks for tuning in today. Like, share, subscribe, and comment and contribute. Meanwhile, remember to watch your blind side.